ceremonies, Nathan Cassar.
Well, welcome to another awesome episode of the Justice Planned Weddings podcast. I'm your host, as always, Nathan Cassar, and today I've got a very special guest who's not only been rocking the music scene, and I should say the wedding music scene, but also has a whole career of impressive milestones under his belt. Please welcome the one and only Daniel Simpson, also known as DJ Sexy Simo. And yes, we will get into that, why he's called that in a second. Daniel has over 25 years of experience as a music producer and a DJ, and he's made a name for himself in both the club and the private scene. From spinning beats at massive festivals like Defqon.1 Music Festival to curating personalized mixes and producing tracks, Daniel brings a whole lot of energy to every event he touches. He's even had a remix played by a YouTube streamer, racking up nearly 100,000 views worldwide. In today's episode, we'll dive deep into Daniel's evolution from high school sexy moves to becoming a go-to DJ for private events and weddings. He'll share the magic behind his live mixing skills, what makes him stand out from the sea of DJs, and how his music production background impacts his events. Plus, we'll talk about his passion for interacting with guests and why the craft of DJing is so much more important than ever in today's oversaturated scene. If you're planning an event and need some serious music inspiration, you won't want to miss this. So do not change the channel or the episode. Daniel, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, Nathan. Good. Thanks. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. You know, it's funny, not compared to most every other guest I've ever had on the show, you're, I think, the only one that I've just happens to be something personal to me. I've not personally worked with you on a wedding yet. However, we have worked together at a different type of event. I remember our event that we worked together was a 60th birthday party for a very lovely lady who wanted a birthday with a difference. And it certainly was great. It was great having your skill and expertise there. And I also met your wife on the day, who sometimes comes and helps out, which I think is really, really special. Yeah, it's a pleasure. No, I know I see you post all the time about the weddings that you do as well. And I know that you've made a firm move away from, as I mentioned in your intro, from clubs to the more of the weddings and corporate and all that kind of stuff scene. So tell me, like, 25 years, it's a lot. You're a music producer, you're a DJ, you're an experience maker. What's the last 25 years been like for you?
So there's been a lot of change since all this has started. So it started basically as a hobby. My friend at high school basically purchased his own DJ set, and I used to go over there and we used to just muck around, play tunes. That's pretty much where I learned the DJing craft. And back then, there's no software, there's no beat matching thing. You had to do everything by ear. So I learned the hard way. I know there's going to be even more old school DJs that say, "Oh, but I learned vinyl," But it's a craft that once I learned early on, I picked it up quickly. I kept it there. Now, also back then, I was making music, but I was just doing it for fun. As the years went on, the scene kind of grew. DJs came out more, and I'm thinking to myself, why am I not in this scene? So why can't I do this? So fast forward a few years later, I decided to start my own DJ business and just take it from there.
Excellent. I love that. That's so good. And I love that sort of entrepreneurial spirit. I like that sort of other people are doing, well, why can't I as well? I think that's absolutely fantastic. And obviously since then, you've really sort of taken that raw old school way of doing it live without the software to help you. Of course, today I know that you do use you keep up to date with the software, but certainly having that really strong background of not being able to rely upon, sort of the software infrastructure that a lot of other DJs who are newer to the scene only ever know. That's the only life they've ever known as a DJ. Can you explain to the listeners, sort of what that means for couples or your corporate clients in terms of why that's important to you, and perhaps even also more so how that's directly influenced your point of difference in, as you say, the sea of DJs out there?
Yeah, well, as you said, There's a flood of DJs that have come in there. And the newer equipment, the newer software has basically made it pretty easy for DJs to do that. You've also got things like Spotify, which people have just made a playlist and they just kind of sit back and they play that. So the difference with me is that it's a much more personalized touch. I've been to events where DJs use this software, but all it does is automatically mix one song to the other, and it doesn't necessarily blend that well. So when you have the experience of how songs should match up, whether they beat match or whether you need to fade it or use effects, that's kind of where I come in there, where I can make the transitions much more smooth, much more relaxed. When it's more energetic, I can make the songs transition seamlessly. That kind of, which just makes the experience that much better, rather than relying on someone who will just hit play and kind of rely on the software to do the job, which it may work some of the time. A lot of the time it doesn't, though.
And how often are couples looking for that kind of extra level of expertise? You know, so certainly, like, I know that there are numbers of couples out there who don't even consider getting a DJ. Their main priority is just obviously to have some sort of music. So they buy some, you know, cheap jukebox from Costco and off they go. And that's fine. It works for them. That's what they wanted to do. That works in their budget. And that's totally cool. But for obviously for the people that you interact with who want you to give them a quote and want to understand who you are, what you can bring to their day, sort of how important is it when you start explaining, hey, by the way, you know, 25 years also means that I haven't had to always rely on the easy stuff, on the easy software. So I have just a better understanding, so to speak, of having to know my music. Like, is that really played as a strength to what couples are looking for?
It has, because it's often a point that I bring up almost immediately when I'm trying to kind of convince people that, you know, they should be booking with me. So things like we'll talk to the clients first, go through like a song list they would like, genres they would like, playlists, whether or not they would leave it up to me to kind of sort it out. And I've had a lot of people kind of bring up the fact like, oh, do you play off a Spotify list? And I've had to tell people I can base it on a list, but I'm not going to play Spotify. I've recently done a wedding where someone was actually like, that's amazing. This is what I'm after. So I think some people are starting to realize that there are DJs out there that will just play a playlist and it's not really customized. You also have the arts of trying to read the crowd. Now, if you're just going by software, playing a whole playlist, you're not really going to be reading the crowd as much because you're relying on a list to do that for you. So there is an art also when I'm watching the crowd. I can see what kind of songs they enjoy, artists they enjoy, genres. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to play this type of song now, or I'm going to stick to this genre now. So it's something that I do on the go. There's no preset list. Everything's all planned. And I think just when I bring that attention to people, they seem a lot more impressed with the efforts that I go to just to make that little bit extra change can just make a big impact on their day.
And is it hard? Because I mean, like, I certainly, you know, have a lot of respect for DJs. I work with them hand in hand. You know, if I don't get to plug my microphone in, my voice ain't going anywhere. But more importantly, obviously, it's a dual role that you know, it's a partnership that I have with the DJs whenever I work with them. And so I'm always amazed when, you know, DJs like yourself can read that crowd, know exactly what song to put in next. But is that something that couples can expect through experience alone, or perhaps is there any special training that they should expect a DJ like yourself to have, or is it just sort of that X factor where you've either got it or don't? Because I'm just so amazed that someone like yourself is able to find the right music.
I think the experience helps a lot because I've been in the industry for so long. I've gone through all styles of music. I mean, when I was growing up, I loved music. So I've grown up, you know, even I'm born with the 80s, grown up with music from the 50s, 60s, 70s, all the way up to there. I've grown up with music all the time there. So I kind of know what people gravitate to. I know the songs that people would be into. And that way it's much easier to read the crowd. Because I'm also knowledgeable about genres, not just like dance music genres, but like pop, R&B, those kind of things. So it just allows me to kind of get the feel of what people are enjoying, what people may not be enjoying there. There's always the go-to tracks where you put it up and expect people they're going to get on a dance floor for this one as well. Once again, it comes with experience. I wouldn't say it's difficult as such. It's just that you really have to kind of pay attention to what's going on. You really have to have a passion about music and just kind of understand if people like this, what else would they like? Kind of gravitate towards that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think it does sort of, in my mind, I've seen a very big difference between DJs who are present in the moment, as you describe, and those who are either allowing the bells and whistles to distract them, or even worse, the fact that there's some out there who unfortunately are doing it just because it's a job and it's relatively easy these days to enter into, and they've got enough money to pay for it. So I guess we'll do it. So it is great that there are obviously, you represent that good chunk of DJs out there who actually want to look up from their booth from time to time and actually are like taking a real sort of thought both before, during the experience. Now, we've sort of touched on this already, but your background in music production is unique in the sense that there's not as many DJs who have like an audio engineering or a music production background. And so it's from an academic point of view. And so I know personally that really shines through the events that you do. How has your experience in music production specifically influenced your DJ sets? And how does it overall elevate the experience that your couples and your guests get from you?
So one of the things that I'm good at is doing pre-made mixes for certain events. So if someone wanted, for example, they want to do a dance routine for a wedding. I've had to do one, it was a while back now. But she asked me if I'm able to do a mix. She just gave me a bunch of songs and goes, I want to do a dance routine to this. So I can actually jump on my studio, I can sit down and I can edit these songs in a way that is actually like a mega mix type of thing that you may hear on certain CDs there. And it's just a little extra step that I take. I don't do any extra charges or anything like that. It's just something I'm willing to do for people. And it can just, make the moments easier. This person had a specialized first dance where they did a small dance routine. But I've actually done for my own wedding, I set up my own dance track for a dance routine as well.
That's cool.
So there's always this. If people want remixes or unique songs, if they're into the style that I'm in, I've been able to, like enough to play some of my own music at events. You're not going to hear any other DJ do that.
Yeah, true.
But one thing I'm doing for the first time is I do have a wedding coming up, and the bride and groom actually want me to do an intro, like a first dance song, but I'm actually making it from scratch.
Okay.
Yeah, they're into hardstyle music, but they don't want a hardstyle song for their first dance. They wanted a slow, romantic one. So I'm taking the words, the lyrics from it, and I'm basically doing like a string quartet piano style song.
Oh, okay. I would love to hear that because I couldn't listen to hardstyle forever, but I certainly like it a little bit here and there. I would honestly love to hear that after it happens, mate, because that sounds awesome. And I think that's really, really cool because it's like my knowledge of music as a classically trained pianist, I understand, I can at least appreciate that what you just said is not an easy task to do. And the fact is that you're willing to do it like, it's included as part of your package, but also the fact that you can do it, because I see a lot of couples out there who on Facebook groups say, hey, we really want this, we win this, but our DJ can't do this, and now can I pay somebody else to do it? And that obviously becomes an additional cost. But secondly, as well, it just means that someone like yourself would have been better suited for them in the first place. So it's great that people like yourself out there are able to achieve that. And I love that. I can't wait to listen to that song. Now, one thing that I know that you are very, very particular about, and in a great way, and I love seeing it as an MC, as someone who does masterclasses for DJs and MCs and celebrants, I often say that as much as your craft, may it be in my case talking, may it be in your case playing music, and celebrants obviously doing the celebrant part, as much as like those roles are critical to get done correctly and done well, realistically bringing the human element of engagement within guests is such a critical part that a lot of other people forget, particularly DJs, because you're living in this like DJ booth world, and it's like I can't possibly leave. But you like to say that what sets you apart is that you actually get out and engage. Can you tell me a little bit about sort of what you do to get involved amongst the wedding itself, the event itself, and why you believe this is a really important part of your service?
So there's a couple of things I can bring up. So little things like I've been asked to do some emceeing duties. Like I'm not a professional MC. I have nothing compared to your level. So I kind of bow down to the way you're interacting. But just little things like I'm more than happy to pick up a microphone, talk to everyone, kind of introduce them, go through ground rules. I've done like emceeing for weddings where I've taken it upon myself. Another thing that I like to do, though, is I'll often get more involved with the crowds. If there's a photo booth, you'll sometimes see me quickly run to the photo booth and do that, leave a little message, congratulations for people there. If there's a song which I can join people on the dance floor, I'm going to be doing that as well.
See, I like that because you and I did that last time, and I was already planning my line dance stuff for her birthday party, and then you were saying, "Oh, great, I'll be there with you," and I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay, all right." Like I believe you, but a lot of DJs have said that, and they never do. And then you were there, and I was like, "Oh, thank you, someone that gets it." Like the music's gonna keep going. It's not gonna. You don't need to be sitting behind the booth for that kind of thing. I loved that you got up and did that. It's awesome.
Yes, and you get the typical songs like Gangnam Style, Party Rock Anthem, Nutbush, anything, I'll get up and do that. And the reaction is usually very positive. Like people will say, "Oh my God, the DJ is actually on the dance floor doing stuff." Yep. And yes, a lot of people will start filming me. The event that we did together, after everyone had left, the people there are saying, "Oh, can you do it again? I want to film you doing it." So it's a very, very positive thing that I do. It's very enjoyable as well. And just interacting with people at the party, like I want them to have a good time. I want them to enjoy themselves. And I'm trying to show that I'm enjoying myself with them as well.
No, and I certainly do. I certainly know you do. I mean, I think you even, am I remembering this incorrectly, potentially? But did you do the worm at the event that I did with you as well?
Not the worm, so I'm not that much into it. It was, I think the highlight was the MC Hammer dance.
Oh, that was what it was. Yes. I knew there was something I knew there was something signature. Yes, absolutely. That 100%. Gotcha. Correct. I still loved it. Don't get me wrong. Worm or MC Hammer, I'm equally partial to both. So no, it was fantastic, and I think it's definitely a credit to the fact that I know there are some DJs who say, look, I'm just not comfortable there, and that's okay. That's okay. But I've always championed this idea that the moment that a DJ, because it's all about, in my mind, it's the psychology of where people expect you to do and to be versus where you are. And certainly you don't want to be where people are not expecting you to be in a bad context. Obviously, like, being at the table eating when you're supposed to be DJing is a bad unexpected. But a good unexpected is simply by going away, by pushing the button, doing the nut push and going out and doing it. It's it's such an easy surprise and delight that is truly a mark of what you bring to the table. So you should be impressed. You should be proud of yourself. Before I got one more question, I do have to allow the audience now to understand, how did you come about being known as DJ Sexy Simo?
Okay, so this is going back to high school days again. So last name being Simpson, Simo was the name that everyone kind of picked up. There was one guy in particular, don't ask me why, it always used to address me, Sexy Simo. And it just kind of picked up from there. It was always this one guy who would say it, and it just kind of clicked. And it says, okay, I'm Sexy Simo now. It's not that I think I'm beautiful and glamorous. It's just, it kind of hit me. The name picked up, and it's stuck ever since. And I know people have said, why are you calling yourself this? This is embarrassing. It's like, I don't care. This is me. It's personal to me now. And I've just gone with it. And yeah,
Well, it's clearly not hindered
20
you from yeah, exactly 25 years on. Like it's not like it stopped you from getting bookings. So, you've
no,
clearly survived the so-called embarrassment that you were subjecting yourself to.
even things like children's parties where I thought they're not going to come anywhere near me. It's not the case. It's just I'm not going to call myself in front of the children, but people are still willing to accept the name and hire me for things like that too.
Oh yeah, it's not like you named a swear word or something like that. I know. I think it's bold and I think it's great. And like I remember
Mhm.
first looking you up and thinking, okay, all right, like it's something that people are going to obviously remember. And as you said, there's a story behind it. And I, as a storyteller, I have to love stories. One more
Mhm.
question before I throw some rapid fires at you because we are getting closer to the end. We've talked a little bit about this before about the saturation of DJs. You've mentioned it a number of times throughout today. I wanted to sort of come back to that and specifically ask you from your perspective, what do you think has been lost in the craft of DJing and how potentially the industry can shift back to make DJing a more meaningful and unique experience? Because at the end of the day, couples and corporate clients deserve that from us. And so I would be curious, as someone who's been around for a long time, what do you think has sort of gone to the wayside and how can it be cured?
So I think people just need to be more passionate about what they do. So there's always an easy option, but the easy option is not going to translate that well. I mean, events
Mm,
that I've been to, I'm a bit biased because of my DJ background, but I can tell when things are sloppy, when things are pre-planned, when things aren't live, when people just play a CD, play a pre-play mix, and sit down. So if I'm
mm,
noticing it, I know other people notice it as well. So what people really need to do is I think they just need to look up to possibly other DJs. I mean, there are some DJs well beyond my level who can do fantastic things on the deck, absolutely mind-blowing things, and they just make that party just unique in a way that would never be like that before. I always try my best to do whatever I can to make myself stand out, but
mm,
there are people out there who can get better and better. The problem also is because I'm competing now with a lot of these DJs with cheap equipment, cheap software, I can't kind of like raise my revenue, get all the bookings that I need to, because a lot of my money goes back into the business where I get
mm,
better equipment, where I can actually do better mixes for people, better lighting for people, better experiences. And it's just the point where I can't justify doing that financially. And it's
mm.
just a shame. I wish I could do better for people. I want to do better, but unfortunately there's that kind of brick wall that I'm up against. So if people really wanted to do it, I think they should be more passionate about it. Really learn the skill, really learn the music, learn how to beat match minimum.
Mm,
Mixing two
mm.
songs together, beat matching seamlessly is just, it makes things so nice as well.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I think
Yeah.
it's I have an immense respect for people like yourself that can do it, because easily some of the best sets that I've heard have been beat matched, and also the like what I love particularly is that concept where, forgive me, this is probably a technical term, but you take like the lyrics from one really popular song, mash it up with another track that's also really super danceable, and then what you've now created is two sets of emotions, sometimes even three or four. I've heard three or four different layers when the DJ is really good. And
Mhm.
essentially, what you're creating is multiple levels of nostalgia for people, but also there are, different people who are like different parts of the song can all sort of interact and appreciate a song heard in a different way because you are specifically passionate enough to have really analyzed the track and see what works together and what doesn't. So no, I think passion and care for the craft is definitely something that I agree will help to bring a bit more parity back to people like yourself who are very, quite righteously putting your effort back into the business. And I definitely resonate with that myself. Uh, Simo, we're running out of time, so I'm gonna hit you with a couple of questions that you haven't prepared for, but it's easy, just whatever first comes to mind. I'm always curious, just I mix them up every single episode. So first off, you've been in the game for 25 years. Where's your favorite venue ever been to?
Favorite venue? We're talking private events,
Weddings.
weddings. Yeah. So this was actually very early on. There was a wedding that I did, and it wasn't a really major production. It was just kind of in a big, like community hall type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I was able just to play like dance music, music that they loved. I was able to use all my equipment, the smoke machine, the lights just looked amazing. And they were so happy that they got me on for longer and longer. So it wasn't your typical wedding where it's kind of structured. Not the saying there's anything wrong with that. But just the fact, just the way it flowed and how everyone got involved, everyone from all ages was enjoying everything. It was just something different, something unique, and it just really stood out for me, probably out of any other wedding I've done, I would say.
Right. And where was this?
So it was a venue in Emu Plains. I can't remember the exact venue because it wasn't like a specific wedding venue.
Gotcha.
It was more like just a hall barn type of thing. It was a long time ago, but it's stuck with me ever since.
No, I love that. It's just raw. It's just, it's not caught by the trappings of what I call the marble palaces in Sydney and so forth. It's just this raw sort of, here's a space, make it yours. No, I love that. That's a fantastic answer. And I've got to ask the question. You've been doing it for 25 years, and I know that you're still very active. In fact, I think out of the last few years that I've known you, I think right now you are currently ramping it up a bit more. If I would be so bold as to predict. So, what is your why? What gets you out of bed every day that you got a gig?
So, once again, I love music. It is like passionate to my core about music, and even if it's not the music that I make, the music that I listen to, it's just something that it's almost therapeutic to me. I could be in a certain mood and I'll play music and it will just change the way I am. It could be songs that I don't even really like and I'm whistling along to them. It's just something that kind of sits with me. And for me to be able to share that with people and to see them getting up and enjoying themselves, it's just another level of enjoyment, of therapy. And as I said, if I could do this every day, full time, 5 days a week, I would drop my current job and this is what I'll be doing for life there. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where it's, you got to do it alongside something. Yeah. But without hesitation, I would do this 24/7 if I could.
Well, I hope that you get that opportunity. I really, really do, because I know that you are passionate. It comes through very, very easily, and I do hope sincerely that you're able to meet that goal, because you genuinely deserve it after all this time. Simo, where can we find you? How do people get in touch with DJ Sexy Simo? How can they book you? How can they see you do the MC Hammer Dance? All of that fun stuff.
So you can catch my website, which is www.sexysimo.com. There is a section there to DJ services. I am on Instagram. I am on Facebook. You just search Sexy Simo Music. I've got songs on YouTube, which you can find there as well. Look me up. Just look up Sexy Simo. You can see what I'm all about, what I produce. But yeah, you can just hit me up. I've got email links, messages, links from there. You can find me on Bark as well, which is just a little tool that I use where we can find people from there. You can find my profile, contact me from there as well.
Oh, wonderful. Excellent. So you're definitely super easy to find. And of course, also, it's great that you also have examples of your work as well, because that is, I think, another strength that we didn't really mention, but I wanted to point out to our audience that I think that's an incredibly decent strength that you have as well, because there's a lot of DJs who don't unfortunately have SoundClouds or YouTube links or any sort of real example of what they're bringing to the table musically. And look, they still get booked, but I think it's great that you have that available to be able to link straight out to a couple so that they can really make a great informed decision. Brother, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you coming along. I hope that we get to work together soon. I hope we get to do a wedding together. I think that'd be even more special.
I would love that. Yeah.
Oh, it would be so good. But in the meantime, I appreciate our time today, and I wish you all the best, and I hope you get to that full-time goal one day.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Just As Planned Wedding Podcast. Please like and subscribe to let me know that you want more videos just like this one. And of course, please follow us on our socials at Just As Planned Wedding on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for more expert insights to help your wedding go just as planned.